Happy Friday. Welcome, everybody, to the Career Talks Real Talk podcast. Joining myself, Tiffany Uman, and Orlando Haynes. We have such a great topic we're going to be discussing and diving into today, all around job searching during the current economy. Obviously, that's bringing up a lot of questions for many professionals, and we want to try to break that down a little bit more to give you some insights and strategies that will help you set yourself up for success, even given some of the uncertainty that you might be facing. So as we're going to get things started, let us know where you're joining us from. So happy to see some faces coming in right now. Let us know where you're located. Drop us a hi in the comments. Orlando, would you like to add anything before we kick it off?
No, super excited. We're in episode 2, Tiffany.
Yes.
Episode 2. So forward progress. Absolutely love. I'm seeing all the folks that are commenting on the post saying, "Congratulations, guys! This looks
Oh,
incredible." All of our peers, so love that. But absolutely share your comments, your concerns, your thoughts, and if we can address those here, right on the live, we'll do so. If not, we'll do it post the broadcast for sure.
love it. And hi, Angeline. Thanks so much for joining. I know, Orlando, I'm so happy you said that. The support's been incredible. I think we have a wonderful community on LinkedIn and even beyond that. Really loving this collaboration and I'm really feeling it. I can't believe it's already episode 2 and we have so many more to go and great topics we'll be diving into. I'm really happy though we're jumping into this one today around job searching during the current career economy. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts to consider here. I think
Yeah.
whether someone is already actively job seeking and maybe has been for some time, maybe it's someone that's actively in their job, considering a career move and wondering if now should be that time or should they stay put, and other different types of phases that you might be going through right now, and the strategies that you can use to still stand out, from the
Yep.
crowd with news of layoffs that are continuing to happen. We want to make sure that you have some tools in that tool belt that will keep you on the right track and allow you to take control of your career even at a time like this.
Yeah, I would love to hear from the audience, Tiffany, about folks who, if they have questions on what's been working for them now, as we look at
Yeah.
what happened in 2020, all the way through now the top of 2023, as we are about to close out 6 days away or so from closing out the first quarter, and seeing what that's like. So this way we can kind of give you some more specific responses and tips and tools to attack
Yeah.
your job search. But question for you would be, what are some of the myths that you're hearing out there? What's that like? Some of the job seekers saying like, "Hey, it's it's tough. Is it's tougher, or we're not getting the feedback, or what are some of
Yeah.
the things that I don't know if it'll be a myth or a challenge. What are some of the
Yeah.
challenges you're hearing throughout your program?"
Yeah. I would definitely say probably more challenges. You
Hmm.
touched on a little bit already. One could be the fact that obviously there's a lot more candidates going for certain roles right now. So there hasn't been as much responsiveness necessarily in the interviewing process or once you're actively in there hearing back if you've made it, if you haven't, or just having really longer hiring processes and probably reasonably so with everything that's going on. I think this is a good topic to further discuss around what kind of transparency there should be there. Interviewers are putting their heart and soul into this process. And so to have that kind of common courtesy on the other way around, whether it's feedback, whether it's
Hmm.
a yes or a no, just to help them be sent on their way so they're not left hanging, is almost more important now than ever because there's so much movement happening, and I never want job seekers to lose confidence in themselves and their abilities because of a lack of response from possible organizations that they're interviewing with right now. So that's definitely been one of the challenges that I've been seeing. I think another one, even for people who are in roles already but are sensing layoffs coming, hearing trickles of that, and already kind of wondering, what should I do? Should I already start looking for new opportunities? Do I just try to make things work as best as I can here and hope for the best? And I'm a big advocate of either which way being proactive. You don't want to be caught off guard. And it's sometimes in these moments of uncertainty that bringing that proactive strategy is all the more important so that you are not pulled with the rug under your feet and then don't have as many options that you can really leverage. Those are two key ones I'm seeing now. But I'd love to hear from you too, Orlando, and we can keep building on that.
Yeah, I would say for folks to be mindful of, like Tiffany said, with the layoffs, a lot of TA folks and recruiters have been laid off recently as well.
Yeah.
So there will be that gap in response if they still, said company has a bunch of active postings, and it looks like they're hiring, and no one's cleaned that up for them, and you're responding, you're shooting, messages out, and that whole department is gone, right? And it's then now left up to HR coordinators, HR managers to kind of feel that out, but no one has really cleaned up that rec portal to show, hey, we're not hiring at all. So you still may see some postings that are lingering out there from an organization. Depending on the ATS, it'll linger for about 30 days. So if they didn't think that through, you're still getting tons of applicants coming through and wondering what's going on. And again, as a job seeker, you may not know that they just dismantled and released that TA department or really reduced it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
overwhelming as well for job seekers. So again, that turnaround time can be extended because they're maybe on a hiring freeze or they just can't get through as many as possible, right? You had
Yeah.
a team of 5, now it's a team of 1. Those 200 resumes now become 600, and it's just humanly impossible,
Yeah.
to get to you. So just be
Yeah.
mindful of that, though.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Obviously, it goes both ways, right? As the candidates, but also on the hiring side of what limited resources they might be dealing with right now. I think that actually leads really nicely into the next point I wanted to share, which is the importance of really tapping into your relationships
Hmm.
and connections. Because in this climate where there's clearly a lot more candidates out there vying for the opportunities that are made public, this is really a key time to build those relationships, nurture the relationships that you have, and try to your very best of building advocates, referrals, or recommendations that can actually help you get that leg up in getting in front of the right decision makers, right? Applications alone, especially in this climate, are not going to be enough. If anyone's joining us or listening in and saying, I've put in so many applications and I'm not
Hmm.
hearing back, or, these processes are taking really long, and that's the only thing you're doing right now to land your next opportunity, just really relying on applications, it's unfortunately not going to be enough because that's what a lot of people are doing. So, being able to get creative and strategic and actually leveraging your network, even if it's a small network, don't discount that. It's a lot more quality over quantity that can help you make strides in the right direction. And even as a quick tip, and something that even I try to remind my clients of a lot, and they're like, it's so true. I kind of disregard this a lot, but tap into your existing connections on LinkedIn as an
Yep.
example, right? So much of the time we think, okay, I want a new opportunity. I have to build new connections. I need to find out people that work in this organization or people that are in the function I want to get into. And those are the ones that I have to get in front of. And that might be true. That might be part of it. But don't discount the active network that you already have who might not be still working at the organization they were before. There's been a lot of change over these last few years. There might be someone right there in your network right now who already knows who you are, who already is a bit of an acquaintance, and might be, 5, 6 degrees of separation from the target company that you want to get into or the target role that you want to land. And rekindling with them is going to be a lot more natural and authentic for you than feeling like you have to ramp up on all new connections. That can absolutely feel overwhelming for a lot of job seekers.
Yeah, I love that. And something I used to say before is become a human resource, not a human resource practitioner. But what I mean by that is doing something really strategic and different. To Tiffany's point, within your network, is say if you know 2 or 3 other people happen to be out of work, you two should come together at least, once every 2 weeks, review, look at, hey, what different strategies that you did that I didn't do, did it work? Let's swap ideas. What information did you find throughout your network? Maybe I'm in marketing, someone's project management, someone's IT, and you three are just, sharing ideas and concepts around what you've done and finding different information and intel that can help each other. Like, hey, I know such and such is, hiring for an HR, director. That's your feed. Here you go. I'm giving this to you, Tiffany. Try. Here's the contact I made inside.
Yeah.
I'll give you, I'll make the connection there. Maybe that can help you. Like, look out for each other. don't just be siloed. I know we're dealing with different situations in our, in our economic standings, and where we're, this bills, we're being real talk, right? This is real talk. We're talking about bills on things that happen. You
Yeah.
may be in a different situation, but not always thinking you need to find the network that's actively working. There may be some, there's resource in those folks. They know people who may have just got released. Like, leverage every single person you can in your network. You just never know what that looks like. I think we see a lot of more job seekers saying, hey, I see, such and such working at Apple or Google or whatever company, and I need to get with them because they're already working inside. But if
Yeah.
I if I was just laid off, but I know there's still openings in a different department that will help my friend, why not still be that resource, right? So
Yeah.
leverage all that. And you see a ton of comments are coming
I see it
in.
too. It's great. Thank you everyone for joining. Jose, Kelly. I think we also have Angeline still with us. This is amazing. Keep the questions coming, guys. We're going to try to tackle as much as we can in the session together today. But those points are so on point,
Hmm.
Orlando. Honestly, it's bringing up so many thoughts, and I think being empathic with job seekers right now is really
Mm,
important. Like it's not an easy time to be a job seeker,
no.
but it doesn't have to feel as challenging as it can feel for so many people, right? Obviously, with, as we mentioned earlier, like impending layoffs, or if you're hearing trickles of this in your organization, there's some things that we can do. I think as an actual job seeker who's interviewing for new opportunities, there's probably conversations and questions that need to be asked in the interview process to get a sense of the stability of the organization, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to necessarily walk into a company and next thing you know, they're doing major cutbacks on employee and internal talent. So you can get a sense of that, yes, from certain questions around maybe the future vision of the organization, which departments they're looking to really grow and invest in. You could speak with people actively working there to get a feel of, how's the internal morale? How's the vibe, right? There's so much intel to gain from people already there, and even maybe people who have recently left the organization, but at least the ones that are actively there. So you can make a more informed decision of how that process is going to evolve for you. On the flip side, if you're in an organization, I think Angeline had mentioned this earlier, that she's kind of in that challenge of having a role, but feeling uncertain about this climate. And
Hmm.
I've seen that a lot with the clients that I'm helping with right now, of just getting options ready to go, because I never want you to feel, like I said, caught off guard.
Yeah.
So there's conversations that can happen internally, with your manager's manager, to get a sense of, is there any word about kind of structural changes on the rise? You might get a straight answer, you might not. I mean, that's always a little bit of that gray zone, but I
Hmm.
hope that you can get some type of internal intel through at least having the conversation, right? Versus not having it at all and kind of playing the naive card that might bite you in the back the other way around. So at least trying to start that conversation if you're getting a sense of certain changes happening. It's absolutely in your right as the employee to ask, what does that mean for me? Are there expected changes to happen to our department? If so, what kind of timeline would that be? Do we have any more information on what that will look like? And it's good for you as the employee to find opportunities to align yourself with more strategic focuses in the company in the near future,
Hmm.
because that will help you to be viewed as more invaluable. If you're already gravitating towards departments or areas of the organization that will definitely stand the test of time. So, just a few different considerations there, but I'd love your thoughts on that too, Orlando, if you want to add to this or have seen anything from people and folks that you've spoken to.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to do that before that. But I'm just harp now that you talked about networking. We touched on that. It's like I keep going back to that for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it's
'Cause
important. It's an
yeah,
important one for
I just
sure.
I just think in this current climate, what you said earlier was, I think they'll be more apt to speak with you now, especially folks that are currently working. You get those informational discussions happening. I think that's where the doors will continue to open. I think folks are now sharing more openly on the platform. You see folks that are, stating their layoff. One young lady made a post and a video, and had a landing page that was really really cool to say that, like, I'm open to my next, opportunity. I think she changed her banner. It said something different. I'm open to my next, phenomenal position or something like that. But I think the creativity of folks
Mm,
need to expand. You really need to expand, and I get it.
yeah.
If you're an introvert, that's not, maybe something that's in your comfort zone to go outside that and be on video. But I think leveraging the LinkedIn platform, but the networking is going to be so huge. I know mentioning, we talked about it in our first episode, or previous conversations we had on live, that I mentioned that networking might not be the only silver bullet, but I think it's very high on the list, right?
Oh,
Very, very, very high on
definitely.
the list. So,
Definitely.
and Kenneth kind of shares that thought too. Kenneth Diamond, he says, we suggest building a career portfolio, which includes video success stories, helps job seekers differentiate and
Yeah.
stand out. So
100%.
it's from, yeah, and I think you shot me an email, Kenneth. So I owe you a response. But yeah, and Jose, we do need to grab lunch, buddy. So I appreciate you joining. But there's
Yeah.
so many ways I think job seekers need to break out of the norm.
Yeah.
I think we're still stuck in the norm of the job search, and it's not working to
It's
the
not gonna work.
degree, yeah, for the
Yeah.
masses.
The same old strategy is just not necessarily going to have the same results anymore, unfortunately. I
Hmm.
love those suggestions that you give, Orlando. And of course, if people feel comfortable, taking that next step in their creativity, pushing themselves out of that comfort zone a little.
Yeah.
Video is amazing. I mean, you know me, I'm very big on video and video content, not just because I really enjoy creating it, but also because it helps people see you, the real person behind the professional. And I think more than ever, when companies are looking for incredible talent, it's not just about the skills.
Mm-mm.
Guaranteed, there are so many amazing professionals right now with all the skills that they need to do well in a certain job. But it's really that personality, the fit, the motivation, the attitude that is going to really set you apart. So if there's ways such as video, success stories, creating your own career portfolio, just being more present as much as you can to showcase that side of yourself, it's definitely going to work in your favor. And maybe to come back to one of your points you said around networking, I agree. We keep coming back to it because it's so critical. And I really want to share this piece for anyone who has been dealing with a layoff or is, possibly concerned about that happening in the future.
Hmm.
Remember this one thing, that your relationships are the number one currency in your career. Regardless of what happens in the economic landscape, what happens in your job, the challenges that you're facing, the obstacles ahead of you, no one can take away your relationships. Those are yours. These are the results of your efforts, both internally in your organizations and externally, possibly on platforms like LinkedIn, where you've invested time and energy into building those connections and relationships. And those will be in your corner no matter what happens. Of course, as the job seeker, it is your responsibility to maintain those relationships and not just show up when you need something, but really bring that intentional effort and strategy to build and nurture those connections as best as possible. And in that same light, just as much as people cannot take away the relationships that you've created despite economic downturn, they can't take away your skills, your
Hmm.
capabilities, your track record, your wins, everything that you've done prior to this. So I think that's an important confidence reminder, right? That despite things not always panning out the way that you want or as quickly as you want, we need to stay confident in what we bring forward, because the moment we start losing that confidence, it can have a really negative ripple effect in how you show up in your job search. And that's the most important, to keep that confidence level as high as it can to land the opportunity that's going to be the best fit for you moving forward.
And I love that. And I'm for folks that are watching, I want you to really dive into some of the nano learning that Tiffany does, as well as follow her program. It's phenomenal. This is a
Oh,
shameless plug for you, but I'm
thanks.
definitely going to do it. So she has this new program. She can tell you more about it, but it is incredible. I was a part of her webinar,
Oh,
and it was amazing. I'm telling you, folks, job seekers, you have to get involved. You just have to. There's so many tips, and I think that can be overwhelming for folks, right?
oh
Where
yeah.
there's so many LinkedIn Learning strategies and things that are being promoted, not even on LinkedIn Learning, but just here in the feed,
Yeah.
and so many podcasts that are being and live strategy, live content that's being put out there. But again, you got to take what's working for you, where you're at your moment in your career in your life, and then apply. Though that's the main thing. Apply it. Don't
Yeah.
just consume. Join the broadcast. Go this. What are you applying? Step away. What are you applying? Then seeing the result, and then come back to, come back and share. Come back and share that, because you never know, that can impact folks too. Just sharing your journey. Like, I would love to see a job seeker vlog their journey here on the platform. Not to shout out any company specifically, but just saying, hey, I got got an interview coming up. Any tips? This is what I'm dealing with. Yada yada yada. Didn't hear back. No worries. They gave me great feedback. My next opportunity is this.
Yeah.
Just to kind of show what current real time activity is being done out there. I think folks will get a more, real life sense of what's going on, because the market, there's things that we just don't know that's happening,
Yeah.
and that's still coming. So it can really impact. But the main key point that what Tiffany and I are sharing here is, one, leverage the heck out of your network. People, open your doors and your arms and your hearts to people, so you can just share, and how you can just impact someone else and help them. And then, at that, be more creative. Just be more creative. The whole
Absolutely.
post and pray, because employers, right? Employers are still using antiquated, resources as well, and antiquated thinking when it comes to attracting new talent in this digital space and things like that. So
Yeah.
understand that angle too. They're struggling to change, but if we drive that change as job seekers in totality, it'll be easier, I think, for those who are willing to stand out more, and get captured.
Absolutely. The big thing you're saying there, Orlando, I love what you just shared. It's like the action taking.
Hmm.
I want all of our job seekers listening and watching with us to be able to take action every day. And I think this is the best way that you can make a lot of progress in your job search is get intentional. It doesn't have to feel like a huge laundry list and have to do everything and anything, because you're going to spread yourself way too thin and it probably won't lead to the results that you want. But we want to help you get really focused on certain things that you can do day by day, week
Hmm.
by week, so that at the end of these days and weeks that are going by, you can concretely see progress that you're making. Perhaps one day your goal is to reconnect with 20 of your connections and kind of see where they are, do a little bit of a filter through, see who's working at certain organizations. Okay, that's someone I want to reach out to. And then, send those rekindling messages, as I like to say, to just get in their radar again. Maybe another day, the focus is more on speaking with people at your target companies, really trying to build out some of those new connections. Maybe another goal for another day is engaging on content of people in the space that you want to move into, thought leaders, people that are very active, that you can sense have a good sense of decision making power. Maybe it's other types of events. Maybe you're in a location where there's live networking events that you might want to join and just broaden your horizon that way. Maybe one day, to Orlando's point, it's going on LinkedIn Learning and just upskilling in different skills and opportunities that will help you. My newest LinkedIn Learning Nano course is all around interviews and answering common interview questions, which has helped my clients land jobs really effectively and quickly, because we get those answers right and you know how to address yourself in those situations as best as possible. But there's no shortage of resources, but you have to bring that level of proactivity with a day by day and week by week action plan. You
Hmm.
don't want to lose that momentum, because that's going to keep you feeling really stuck, probably a little bit down and discouraged with the entire process of being a job seeker right now.
And I love that, because you just touched on it. There's the emotional side to it, right? If you've done so much job search and you're not getting the feedback, you're getting exhausted, you're getting, really turned off by the whole premise of job searching. You absolutely got to be mindful of your emotional state during a job search in this economy, because there's only so much you can control, and it's really your effort, and that creativity. So make sure you're owning that. But there's times where you need to just step away and just, get a break. Doesn't mean you have to job search 8 hours a day for 30 days straight, but
Yeah.
have a plan to where it's almost like a content creation plan, right?
Yeah.
Mondays I'm doing this, Tuesdays I'm doing that, but
Yeah.
Have if you have that plan that keeps you on track. And again, I
So good.
think if you're more conscious of that emotional state of where you are, because you
Yeah.
land interviews, you can bring such a negative energy in. Like,
Yeah. We don't
here
want
we go again, right? This is interview number 13. They're not going to hire me. The last 12 didn't. They're not even going to respond to me. And then that
that.
comes
Oh,
off in the interview, and they're like, wow, this person
yeah.
was awesome on paper, but and
What
on the phone,
happened?
what happened?
What happened here?
Like,
And your point
completely.
is so good, Orlando. It just takes the one, right? I think that's a really good reminder for job seekers where despite the maybe rejections that you faced or the lack of feedback or lack of response, those aren't the opportunities for you, right? The right one is going to come along and that is all you need. The one opportunity. It doesn't have
Mhm,
to be tons or handfuls of opportunities, and that's why that quality over quantity is really important in the actions that you're taking. The spray and pray method is just not going to be effective anymore. And so that level of intentionality and commitment is really key. One thing I wanted to add to what you were saying, Orlando, is for anyone who has experienced a layoff or, might unfortunately be in a situation like that or is having dealt with that in the past, give yourself that grace to live the emotions,
mhm.
right? I think often if you're a high achiever like I am, and I know a lot of clients that I work with, we put a lot of pressure on our shoulders of like we have to constantly, be making moves and have that progress. But there's certain moments in your career where you need to take time to rest. You need to take time to step back and reflect. And I think layoffs bring on a whole slew of emotional roller coasters that you want to be able to deal with and not feel like you have to rush back into something. Because to your point, Orlando, the energy that you're likely going to bring if you haven't fully recovered from some of the trauma or the kind of havoc that might have created for you in your
Mhm.
life or maybe for your family, it's going to be very hard to show up as your best self in your job search. So, don't be afraid to take that time. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's just time that you haven't taken for yourself in a while. And you're like, now this is a good opportunity for me to just take that step back and really reflect on what I want to do moving forward. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're bringing not just the intention, but the strategy of starting anew and saying, hey, this is maybe a blessing in disguise that I can actually move in this direction that I've kind of had at the back of my mind, but have been suppressing. And now I want to really give it the time of day and think that through. So, this is a good moment for reflection where you don't have to feel like you're constantly, on, but giving yourself that good balance to come with the right level of energy that will be right for you.
Yeah, and someone said in the comments too, their name is not showing up, but it says with Accenture, Walmart, and Amazon planning layoffs right now, it's time to be proactive. So
Yeah.
it's still coming, folks. Layoffs are still happening. You just never know. I would
Yeah.
say there's organizations that are loyal. There are some that are loyal to the employees that work there for an extended period of time, a long time, and some that are not. But and that's why I'm so adamant and kind of passionate about documenting your wins and things like that, because you then can tell your story in a new way, right?
Mhm.
You've learned so much from this corporation, whether it's been just a year or whatever, but you almost leave that and then go try to go with some basic story to the new company where they need to see some kind of level of excellence in your growth and your
Yeah.
skills um, that excuse me that Tiffany mentioned earlier. But if you document that, get with a coach that can extract some of those new talents, new tools and techniques and
Yeah.
skills that you developed, you can put that forward, and that alone can put you in a better position because they see you in a completely different light. It can be the same position, but they're like, wow, we didn't know this.
Yeah.
Right, you're not leaving any intellectual, I like to say, intellectual potential on the table. It's not left in that cubicle. You own that. That is your, that is your talent, your gifts, that you can take and market to
Yeah.
anywhere. But document that stuff, craft
100%.
it, tell your story, and just go out there and crush it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
huge.
that's so relevant. And even for people that are tuning in that are in their roles and maybe thinking of leaving or just want to be proactive, if you are actively thinking about leaving your job, I'd love to know more about what's prompting you to want to
Hmm.
leave. Maybe it is the trickles of layoff, possibly, but maybe there's other reasons that you're like, well, I want to change jobs. I wanted to change jobs for a while, but now I don't know if it's the right time given everything that's happening. Maybe I should just sit tight. And kind of goes back to what you were saying, Orlando, about my program that I'm opening enrollment for right now, which is called Inevitable Success. Because what I see a lot with my clients is the way that we handle internal workplace dynamics can really make or break your success. And some things that you might feel as an employee right now are leading you to want to leave your job could actually do a complete turnaround if you know how to handle these situations most effectively. And I always want to make sure that you never leave jobs prematurely because you haven't built up that needed strategy to help set yourself up for success. And that's really the focus of this program so that you don't have to feel alone in figuring that out. Maybe absolutely the right decision for you will be to leave and really double down on networking and building that proactive strategy for something new, even despite, the economy that we're dealing with right now. But it could also be that, hey, this is an organization that you ideally saw yourself wanting to stay with. And now, given possible news of what's happening, you want to try to do the best that you can to really solidify the value that you bring there and still in tandem build up some backup options so that you can then decide what's best for you. That's kind of the best spot that you can be in, and what I really love helping people to do, so that this is your career, right? Like, you get to choose. You don't have to feel desperate to just pick something else. It's coming from a level of reflection, introspection, and clarity with the right strategy to fuel that. I think you're on mute, Orlando. It might have just gone on mute for a second. I think you're still on mute from what I can see. There you
What?
go. You're back.
All right, cool.
We're good.
So to your point there about the strategy piece, it's like we have to bring, any job seekers out there, you just have to bring your tools, right? Your weapons, your ammunition, right? That's going to benefit you the most. Um, and know that you have power in those interviews, right? You have complete
Mhm.
total power. You can say no if an offer comes and it's not the right offer. So try not to, operate from a position of fear. Again, we're talking real talk. So you can get an offer that's lower than what you expect, but you have bills to pay. But be mindful. So really, that's why we're harping on before, almost even before you start the job search, retool, rethink, get your emotions back in order. And so this way, when you go out there to attack, you're attacking at a higher level. So almost you can command what you're worth, right? You can get that, and then the energy that you're putting off, the client said job seeker or company knows that, and they're like, wow, this person's
Yeah.
really going to come in and execute, because they just shared so many unique ideas. They're a cultural ad, not just a cultural fit.
Yeah.
And we can see the promise. I always like to say for job seekers, when I was hiring folks, I didn't only look for them for the job I was hiring them for, but can I see them as a leader later on in the company or at that next
Yes.
level? So I think you have to start thinking forward too, right? Don't just say, yes, I'm coming in here to be this, but my goal, and I want to start thinking and speaking in the next level, that next level terminology, because
Oh, 100%.
the verbiage change the higher you go. I think employers are looking for, the good employers are looking for a little bit more, and it can be tough for us to get those tools and techniques we're looking for, or they're looking for. But challenge that those conversations, right, in a positive sense. Like, what are you getting also from that organization? Again, employers don't have all the power, so don't position yourself that way. Keep that confidence, to Tiffany's point earlier, going with such a confidence, knowing that I'm bringing a wealth of talent,
Yeah.
expertise, dynamic thinking to the table, and I need you guys to see that. So
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
confident in your confidence.
Absolutely. I love this. It's such an important thing to do when you're
Yeah.
interviewing. And I think where a lot of job seekers kind of miss the boat, where they're answering questions that they're getting, but they're not truly bringing it back to the company and the
Mm,
role and helping them future project themselves in the position, right? There's such a power in vision casting in
mm,
interviews, helping the interviewer, the hiring manager really see not just you in this role now, but kind of down the line what that will look like or how you can directly support them on internal opportunity areas. And that's a great way of elevating yourself in an interview and really stand out instead of just staying so by the book with
Yeah.
answering exactly what they're asking and then that's it. It is very much that dialogue. And that's a really good way of building that dialogue as an extension to your answers, of tying it back. If, let's say, they're really focusing on, building out a new department in a certain way, and that's kind of the path that you're coming into, you can already share what that evolution could look like for you and the alignment with that vision that they have. So suddenly now there's like a lot better synergy, and it shows for you as the candidate that you're in this.
Hmm.
Even if you choose to stay there long term or not, they don't really necessarily need to know this. It's more for you as the job seeker to help them see that you're committed. Like you
Yeah.
are seeing this past just the next few months or a year. Like you can really see yourself building something there. I think another key thing that would be really helpful for our job seekers, and sometimes it's hard to do, is try to be as objective with yourself as possible as to what is
Mm.
working and not working in your job search strategy. Because if you're doing the same thing, and you're just not getting results, but you're not really changing your strategy, you're probably going to be continuing to see a lot of disappointment in your
Yeah.
results. And so, try to isolate what you've been doing and assess what kind of results you've been getting. For instance, maybe your resume, the way that you've built it, has actually been helping you get interviews. But then the interviews are where you're struggling because you're not getting past a certain stage or you're not
Hmm.
getting to the offer. That is then the sign of, okay, it's the interviewing process where we really need to focus your energy on refining and be able to better show up to get you to that offer stage. Maybe you're not getting any types of opportunities that you're trying to apply for. And so that could be a sign that your resume is not telling the narrative that you needed to tell. Maybe your LinkedIn is not working in your favor as well. So this is going to kind of help you see, okay, where should I start focusing some of the energy? But regardless, what you want to layer on top of this is the networking piece, because people get people jobs, people
Hmm.
get people promoted. The people piece is going to be critical at every stage of your career. And so we don't want to lose sight of that and have applications outweigh where you're putting your focus and energy. So ideally, you're spending about like 60% plus of your time really building up on the strategy around relationships, getting on informational interviews, reconnecting with existing connections, getting into engagement on people's posts that are working in the organizations you want to be a part of, maybe sharing content, leaving thoughtful comments, joining groups on LinkedIn where you might be surrounded by people that are very much in the same function or role or industry that you want to be a part of. There's all of these different strategies from a relationship standpoint that will give you more visibility. And that's what's going to help build on the creativity that you talked about, Orlando, of, not just doing the same old thing and expecting, better results. We have to challenge ourselves and be really self-aware
Hmm.
around what's not working and then how do we fix that.
And I think folks need to get over that too, over the mental block, because what we're talking and what it sounds like to me is you have to invest in the coaching, right? You just have to make the investment, because if you've had 4, 5, 6 interviews and you're stuck at a certain point, it gets tougher for you as the job seeker to self-evaluate,
Mm,
because your probably natural instinct is to be like, those companies, they didn't, always putting the onus on them, but in not recognizing like, hey, did I answer the same question the same way, or is my posture, is my continence and how I'm speaking, my energy, am I just being distracted? Whatever it is, that's why I'm saying you have to invest in the coaching. It's better to take that investment now to where you don't, or you at least improve in the next few interviews that you'll get. So if you're
yeah,
at that stage, you're landing interviews, so something's right. The resume's
yeah,
perfect or something, right? Then if you're crashing and burning in those interviews, then that's right. That common theme is you. So
yeah,
you have to get those tweaks. And you're saying you can't make the investment, you have to make the investment.
yeah.
And one
Well,
of
it's
those
going to
companies,
fast track
yeah.
that learning curve.
Mm.
It's going to fill in the gaps. It's going to help you get a lot more objectivity so that you don't feel alone in this, and it's going to get you the results a lot sooner than later. So it's great to be able to see that ROI in investing in yourself in that way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we also look at. I want to put the onus back on employers, right? For hiring managers who are interviewing, they need to retool as well on how best practice on how to interview, and make it more a conversation versus an interrogation. So there's no biases. Try to remove as much bias, questioning and thought process as possible. Like, I think there needs to be some type of overall coaching for how to interview in 2023 post
Yeah.
pandemic, to really look at more than just, if this person was in 6 jobs in 3 years, like, does that really matter? In today's market, I don't think so, unless you find out the reasoning behind it is not the best. But I think if you're just searching for talent, be more open, right? Because
Yeah.
that hiring manager, he or she can be in that position. You're like, oh my god,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
now on the
Big
other
time.
other side, right? Uh,
100%.
they,
So
like,
good.
yeah, they need to
Yeah.
they need to retool.
So that's really insightful. I hope everyone's hearing that because it's really important. I want to shift gears quickly a little bit on LinkedIn, Orlando. I think this
Hmm.
is going to be a really important one for our job seekers too. And I get this question a lot, especially for people who are in roles that are thinking about moving or changing. One of the biggest questions I get around that is, well, I don't want to raise any flags to my company if I start, posting on LinkedIn or if I start doing certain things on my profile. And the reminder that I always have is one, your company is not stalking your LinkedIn profile all the time. So we have to kind of get out of our head and think that they're not just zoning in on you and seeing every little bit of activity that you do. But even more importantly than that, your LinkedIn profile is your LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
It's not owned by your company, it's yours. This is your digital footprint of your personal brand and professional track record. So I never want anyone to feel limited in how they can show up on the platform because of concern of how their company might receive that. Now, of course, a few caveats here. So long as you are posting, sharing things that are not to the detriment of your organization, there is no issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're showing up and maybe you're sharing confidential information or things that can paint them in a negative light, huge no no. I hope we all have enough common sense and discretion to realize that. But if you're just posting, I think we got a comment in the chat as well, right? Just commenting, sharing posts around things that you're maybe passionate about, anything, maybe sharing articles that you've read, a book that you're reading right now. It's such a great way of showing up on the platform in a way that's authentic to you and can help you build your digital footprint and get more visibility. Like I've spoken with a lot of people on LinkedIn recently who have had explosive growth on their profiles. And it was honestly like kind of accidental. They just started posting and started seeing a lot of traction based off posts that they're like, I never thought that this was going to take off. I just wanted to post it. And so I posted it. And there's a lot of power in your story, right? One of the
Mhm.
other very common things I hear when it comes to showing up on LinkedIn is like, well, I don't really have anything to say, or, my story is not really special. I guarantee every person listening right now, there is power in your story. And the things that you're down talking right now that people won't care about, they absolutely will care about. If I listened to that voice in my head, I never would have become a career strategy coach. I never would have started creating content because I would have let that take over. But I said, no, I have things I want to share. I really believe this is going to help people in their careers. And I went for it. And I want all of you to have that same kind of conviction and self belief that your voice, your story matters.
Yep. Love it. And to that point too, I know I've had that question too, and they wondered whether or not would they get negative, comments on a post. And I've never had a negative comment or impact, on my content whatsoever. I think
Well, that's because
the
your
mi-
content is amazing, Orlando. You're just constantly bringing the value bomb. If there's someone hating on your content, send them to me. I'll put them in their place.
love it. Love it. But yeah, folks, I think if you're sharing the value, right? If you're sharing the value, to Tiffany's point, that was if you're talking about just a book you're reading, personal development, self-development, there's nothing an employer needs to worry about, right? Be mindful. There may be, worries about if you're posting too much in the day. They're like, hey, you're like, what's going on? But there are schedulers, employers. There are schedulers. I use schedulers. So posts are coming out during the work hours. So don't be mindful of that too. that no one's sitting on their LinkedIn and just posting all day when they
Yeah.
should be working. At least they shouldn't be. But
Yeah.
so you can schedule that, just drop when you have it. But I think that is so important,
Yeah.
because as you do that, the profile views will go up, and now you can create different opportunities for yourself that maybe you didn't know would come around. Right, you're on a podcast, you may develop
Yeah.
a program yourself. There's nothing wrong with creating and leveraging your digital, what's the word I'm looking,
A
real estate.
footprint in real estate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to create several streams of income. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I
Nothing
see it
wrong.
all the time at the top, at the highest level. There's someone who works for, I'll say the company name, Chick-fil-A, who is like a senior director, but he's written a book and he travels and he showcases his book. And while Chick-fil-A is tagged in all his comments, but he's doing something on his personal time, but
Yeah.
he's tagging back to the company. So that's a crucial piece there. And I think I might have shared this before, but the organization Cisco, their CEO, COO, made a post, right? I'm going to make sure all 30,000 of my employees become LinkedIn influencers.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's talent attraction in doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
own that. Like, I would love for to come in and help some folks there at Cisco
Yes.
to
My
do that,
gosh.
right? Or
Right.
have them come on this podcast and talk with us. That would be amazing to understand why did
Yeah.
they adopt that mentality and how's it going, right? What are they seeing as
Oh,
benefits and
yeah.
talent attraction? I think that's huge. A
Well,
lot of organizations need to do that.
it's amazing that it's being enabled, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes just as the employee, we need that permission sometimes to feel like it's actually okay to do this. I know you and I are sharing that you don't even necessarily need that permission to be able to show up for yourself on LinkedIn, but it's great if a company is actually encouraging it in the way that Cisco is. We got
Hmm.
a comment also in the chat here, showcase your expertise by writing post on LinkedIn. You might just land on the radar of someone looking for your skill set.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Right? We all have expertises that we're building in our work. Maybe it's things that you do that helps you be really effective in your role. Those could be really great insights that will absolutely get on the radar of possible decision makers and be like, oh, that's interesting, right? Amelia also shared a really interesting point, which is very true. It's also good to call out that there are managers who are new to interviewing and are just as nervous as the candidates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interviewing is a skill on both
It
sides.
is.
Having done both, it's not always so natural for people to interview others. They can be nervous if they're new managers or new in their hiring role. They want to make sure that they're showing up professional, but that can lead them to maybe come off too stern or too straight faced in an interview. And then that could off put the interviewer a little bit, or the interviewee, I should say. So, absolutely, I think it's always good to have that perspective that we're all humans, right?
I
We
know.
all have nerves, we all get anxious, we all get excited. It's part of who we are. But to be able to believe in yourself and the value that you bring and leverage a platform like LinkedIn to share that story, right? If people don't know who you are, they're not going to be able to find you. And if they cannot find you, you're not going to be able to get the opportunities that you ideally really want. So the
Yep.
more cards, right? I hope you guys are all getting from our episode today that the more action, the more intention, the more consistency that you're building in your strategy as a job seeker is only going to help you.
Yep.
It's not going to work against you. It will only help you.
Yeah, and I appreciate Daisy for those comments. She's very active in sharing her comments here. So
Ah, thank you,
thank you,
Daisy.
Daisy, and Johan. How do, sir? Appreciate you joining and sharing your comments as well with us. Um,
Yes.
but I think the reason why maybe most of us who share content on LinkedIn, not also for the personal brand building and things like that, but where else? What other platform can you be almost everywhere at an instant of a click, right? You make one post in the broad scope that you can cover international, the connections,
Oh,
like you said, the
yeah.
relationships, anything like that can happen at that speed of time. That's why we just have to leverage in the, what's the number? We're probably creeping up close to a billion users, but the data shows maybe 2.5, close to 3%
Yeah.
are actively on making content on LinkedIn, and what they consider active content is at least one post every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, if that's what they think is active, that's great. So if you're doing more, right?
You're
If you're
already
doing
off to a good start.
right, you're in the 1 percentile. So let's kick it up a notch,
Oh,
folks,
yeah.
and do that for sure. Like the
Yeah.
opportunities are
Oh,
tremendous,
yeah. Visibility is
tremendous.
king here.
Yeah.
Like visibility, visibility, and to Johan's point that he's saying, amidst the layoffs more than ever, personal branding is so key to stand out. A
Yep.
100%, right? This is your opportunity to build the narrative, to build the story that is going to help lead you to that next chapter of your career, and that's why that reflection, taking that step back, not just
Hmm.
jumping in to the next best thing, but really using that intentionally to guide where you put your energy and focus is going to make a world of difference. And the beauty with personal branding, if anyone follows me and has seen my content as well, personal branding doesn't stop just as a job seeker. Like this
Mm-mm.
is a life skill throughout your career and is going to help accelerate your growth in more ways than you can imagine when you get it right. So
Yeah.
know that all the things that Orlando and I are talking about today, of course, we're orienting it a little bit more for job seekers within the current economy, but these are things that are going to become second nature to you. It's not a
Mm.
start and stop type of strategy. We want you to really leverage this now and well into the future. So you're constantly having the cards on your side and building the right level of clarity, intention, and growth in your career.
Yeah, I love what Johan said. It's about who you know, but more importantly, who
Who knows
knows you.
you?
Get out there and show
Yes.
your awesomeness.
Oh, what a
Absolutely.
good flip on that, right? It's not about what you know, it's who you know. And yes, it's really about who knows you at this stage.
Exactly.
Such a good point. If you're not visible, it's going to be very hard for people to know who you are.
Yeah, it's just the world we're in right now. It's just again, you have to, and again, folks, you don't have to be in front of the camera to do it. That's one of the most popular ways to get seen faster, the video content. But newsletter is probably, if not second, teetering between first and second. Sometimes you can build a thought leadership and get
Yeah.
intense, intense exposure through a newsletter nowadays. But again, you have to build your connections up on the platform as well. Just be consistent. Like
Yeah.
again, just show your worth, right? Share your ideas. There's all types of strategies and coachings we can provide around that. I even did a quick ebook on building a presence, not a profile, to kind of show you the different steps of
Yes.
content you can start in. Tiffany's highlighted in there on that as well. So you should definitely consider figuring out a way to get started. Take immediate massive action, like she said earlier.
Yeah.
Wanted to see if we have time. We're coming close to the hour, so if you folks, if you have questions, love the comments that are coming in. But if you have any specific questions you want to share or additional comments, continue to do so we can answer that while we're here live, and then even post the broadcast. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Any closing words for you, Orlando, for anyone, actively job seeking right now, exploring new opportunities, possibly dealing with a layoff or impending layoffs soon to be?
yeah, absolutely. I would say first, connect with Tiffany on her program.
Oh, thank you.
Secondly, get the planner, the Career Accelerator planner, for the
Yes.
document all your wins. This way it can get crafted and you're out there showcasing the new you. But really, and leverage the platform. Like, just take action. That's all you can do right now. You'll fumble, stumble, whatever it may be, but you get out there and you'll find your voice. Don't get analysis paralysis. Just take the action, because that's personal development, right? You're breaking through barriers that you didn't know, mentally, emotionally, right? You'll get through those things and you'll grow. And 6 months later, 3 months later, you're like, wow, I'm not the same person. Like, I've acquired new skills, or I've gotten this additional confidence that exudes during interviews. Like, just get started. Like, we
Yeah.
can't hold back anymore. Just get
Yeah.
started. How about you, Tiffany?
100%. Yeah, that was so well said. It's hard to top that. I'll maybe just reiterate something that I said before, which is it just takes the one opportunity.
Hmm.
As much as you might be feeling that roller coaster of emotions, living through everything that's happening right now and wondering what that's going to mean for you, don't get discouraged, because discouragement is going to lead to inaction, and inaction is going to keep you feeling stuck and stifled. And we don't want that. Not at a time like this. This is your career to take control of. Be clear and intentional in how you put yourself forward. really, really tighten up on those relationships because I'm telling you, that's where the magic is going to happen for you right now. And remember, it just takes the one opportunity, just takes the one, right? That's so
Yep.
relevant in so many areas of our life, but I'd say, especially now, you know, despite any type of rejection you might have faced in the past, that's not an indicator of your skills and your capabilities and all the value that you bring. So don't let that take away from the confidence that you absolutely need to have and the path that you want to really drive forward to land this incredible next opportunity, because it's there. It's just a question of when, not when it's going to happen.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we're gonna wrap this one up. Episode 2 of the Career Talks Real Talk. We have several weeks of content ready to go.
Yeah.
Topics we're gonna talk about. So again, we're on broadcast every other Friday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So continue to support, learn, comment, question, share, collaborate, network. Anything else?
I love it. Let us know if there's any hot topics you want us to cover. We are very game to switch up our content plan and speak to ones that might be even more pertinent for you right now. Thank you, Johan, for the kind words, and Amelia and Daisy and all of the other individuals who showed up live with us today. It means a lot. But yeah, we've got a lot more in store. So if you're loving the dynamic between Orlando and myself for Career Talks, Real Talk segments, there is certainly more to come, and we can't wait to see you in 2 weeks from now for our next episode together.
We'll see you then, folks.
Bye.